Welcome back to the virtual hangar. Today we're going to kick off the new year by making this super easy ombre frame calendar. Your kit will include one 11 by 14 photo frame, one big piece of 11 by 17 cardstock-ish paper, half a sheet each of different shades of cardstock, a regular glue stick, and one little Expo marker. To start this project, we're going to take our frame and pop it open. So I'm using a screwdriver. You can use a coin or your finger, whatever you have on hand. Just flip the tabs towards the frame so that you can get the backing off here. Set it to the side and take this piece of paper that comes in the frame. You can just trash that. We don't need it. And we are actually going to take the glass out of our frame. We're going to take this piece of glass and very carefully, because the edges are quite sharp, we're just going to line it up on the edges of our big piece of paper and draw a quick line with a pencil so that we can cut that piece of paper down to size. That's going to be our background. So once we have that line, go ahead and cut it out, and that will give us the foundation of our little calendar project. Once we got the backing cut out, we are going to take our purple pieces of paper, and the goal here is to cut out squares that are all exactly 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. So I'm doing that by squaring it up with this clear ruler. You can do that by drawing dots on either side, about 1.5 inches up, and then drawing a straight line across them both, connecting the dots as it were. We will need 7 of each color. So I only did 4 here, straight across. But you'll need to keep going. Once you have all of your lines drawn, you can cut those out with scissors. I'm not super great. I've got kind of a shaky hand, so I'm actually going to use our paper cutter here that we have in the hanger. You can always go to placentialibrary.org/hanger-DIY-lab, or you can go to the services tab and click Hanger DIY Lab. For our hours of operation and stuff. So you can come in anytime that we're open and use our paper cutter if you're worried about your straight lines. It's much, much easier to use one of these or any paper cutter that you have to just cut strips that are 1.5 inches wide. And then once you've got the strips cut, you just cut the squares all each 1.5 inches. So you make perfectly square pieces of paper. Again, you need 7 of each color because there are 7 days in a week. And remember, if you're using one of these big guillotine style paper cutters, line your paper up with the top edge, line it up with the ruler, and always make sure that the bigger side of the paper is to the left of the blade. You want to be able to hold on to more of the paper than you're cutting off. So you can do a little bit of math, figure out how wide the piece of paper is when it started, and subtract 1.5 inches as you go. That'll give you nice pile of 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch squares in all 5 colors, and you'll need 7 of each. So if you cut out a few more, that'll be fine. You'll just have extras. Sometimes they end up being a little funky. So once we get them all cut out, we're going to start on our big piece of paper. I use this big clear ruler that we have in the hanger. The center one here, you're going to do about 6.25 inches over from the left side of your paper, and I do them about 1/4 inch up from the bottom. And then I separate each square by about 1/4 inch. So the thing that makes this cool is maintaining this very clean grid. So I am very careful about the ruler, keeping them lined up. You want all the squares to be about 1/4 inch apart. You want everything to have that 1/4 inch margin all the way around. So once you get the first row lined up here, go ahead and very carefully take your glue stick, put it on the back side of your square, line it up here. Once you've got this first row done, I was just checking to make sure that one was square. Get them all nice and attached. After you have the first row done, the rest of the rows will go a lot faster. I was doing math as I was doing it. And it'll be easier, though, to line up the next row with this row that's already finished. The glue stick should dry fairly quickly. If you do find that, like, actually, maybe this one isn't quite square, or maybe I missed a little bit, you have a little bit of time to peel. If you don't peel it fairly quickly, I'll say within a minute or two after you put it down, it probably lives there. But you can always try and peel it and then glue over anything that gets left behind. It really isn't going to make that much of a difference since it's going to live behind a piece of glass. Okay, so I'm going to do a little movie magic here, and I start with the darkest color on the bottom row, keep everything nice and lined up, and then just get lighter and lighter as I go towards the top. You could do it the opposite way, go light to dark, start with the light colors, and then go to the dark colors, but I felt like putting the dark colors at the bottom of the month. It's up to you, of course. Just however you like, but it does make it ombre, right, if you go from one value down to the darkest value. You can see sometimes the squares don't exactly become square, so it might behoove you to lay them down and just make sure that they're all exactly the same height. You can see there I peeled a little bit. I had some time. I could peel it in time and then put more squares down. You'll find as long as you're within, your eye will kind of correct it to be square, even if you don't perfectly line it up. But if it's off by, a 16th of an inch or whatever, maybe you will notice, maybe you won't notice. Maybe you want yours to be a little more abstract and less lined up. Like, that's up to you, and it's your art, and that's beautiful. So get all of your squares nice and glued down. You just want to make sure you have a big solid blob of glue right in the middle of the square. If I was doing like precise letters on like a piece of paper, like a sign or a scrapbook page or something, I would be a little bit more careful about making sure I glue stick the entire piece of paper. But for this, because again, it's going to live behind a piece of glass, you can really just put a blob right in the center and that will be totally fine. Just about done here. Got all of the squares down and looks nice and even. So there we go. All right. There's all of our pieces. You can see I've got some extra squares. This step is more or less optional. I'm actually going to use the Cricut to just write the days of the week. I cut pieces of paper that were, let's see, an eighth. No, I believe they were a quarter of an inch by the 1.5 inch. And then you can take any regular old pen and write, Sunday, Monday, all the way through to Saturday. But I did it on the Cricut so it would look nice and clean, and I had the Cricut cut it as well. So if you have a Cricut, you can go ahead and do that. If you don't have a Cricut, again, you can go ahead and head on into the hangar any day that we're open. And even if you don't know how to use the Cricut, I will be in here to show you how to do that. It's a great way to learn the machine, and it's really a useful machine that has a lot of applications. So I would totally recommend coming in to do that. Once we get all our days of the week on there, I just pressed them down with the ruler to make sure the glue was nice and stuck because they're little and fiddly. This last step, totally optional. I just went online and found a vector of a inspirational quote that I liked, and I'm cutting it out on vinyl on our Cricut. If you would like to do that, if you want to customize your calendar, totally, you can come in. We have the vinyl. I can teach you how to use the machine. And it'll be a really cool way to make this calendar special and yours. So once I get my final touches here on, you could also just use regular art supplies you have and doodle in the margins or whatever. Make this thing pretty and yours. It's a great way to get organized for the new year. And if you have any resolutions, a calendar can be very helpful to make resolutions happen. Once my paper is, my base calendar is done, I go ahead and put the glass back in the frame, put the calendar towards the glass, put the backing back on the frame, and then go ahead and use your finger or thumb or quarter or whatever and push the tabs down all the way around. Get that thing nice and secure in the frame. And we're just about there. And that is really all there is to it, to this super simple project. The very last step, the thing that makes this cool, is to take your Expo marker, maybe check out our brush lettering tutorial from all the way back at the beginning of the pandemic. Write the name of the month in fancy cursive at the top, and then go ahead and take your Expo marker and fill in the days of the week. Now, this January starts on a Saturday, so it kind of is annoying to skip that whole first week of papers. When you get down to the bottom, what I usually do is just take my Expo marker and draw a diagonal across those bottom two squares, and then just add the number on the other side of the slash. It's pretty common for calendars to do that, but unfortunately not as pretty here for January. But there's my calendar all finished. Super easy, super cute project. I hope it helps you get motivated. The nice thing about this is you have a family of a bunch of extracurriculars to manage, it can be nice for everybody to put their tasks on the calendar in a different color. You can put your own tasks on there, your work tasks, your school tasks, whatever. At the end of the month, you can just wipe it off with a paper towel. You may need to use a little bit of Windex, but probably not. You can just use a paper towel and then renumber it for the next month. So I would love to see you in the hangar to customize this project on our Cricut. I would love to see what you guys make. Please tag us on social media, and I will see you next time.